It's an electric chair.
So here on North Yard, if you look over in the distance, you'll see it looks like a church steeple. That's the North Wagon Gate. That was the original prison, and that's where they housed the first 100 or so inmates while they built this side. So all the sandstone you see here is part of that original phase. It took these guys 33 years working in shifts, non-stop, night and day, never stopping until they had all this finished. They cut and laid every block of sandstone by hand. Painstaking effort, certainly in those days, to ironically build the place which would incarcerate them. But nonetheless, they put pride into this. And this will speak louder than words after a while. Once we get to the South Yard main line side, I'll remind you about it, that was the side built by contractors, and it doesn't hold a candle to the quality or the character of this North End's construction. This prison was loosely modeled after a sister prison up in Illinois, Joliet Correctional. If you've seen Blues Brothers with Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi, you've seen Joliet at the beginning of that movie. They're both designed with Gothic Revival style of architecture, resembling a castle with the embattlements, the turrets, the crestollations along the front. That was all intended by design to make this place look very evil, very uninviting, very opposing to would-be criminals. You know, think about it, back when prisons were supposed to look mean, you know. Nowadays you can't tell them apart from a college other than the razor wire. The tallest part of the prison was the administration building. The third and fourth floor was the home of the warden and his families until about 1960. State law required them to live either in or on the property of the prison. He raised his kids and everybody up there. I know some of the wardens allowed their kids to have sleepovers on the weekend. I think that's kind of crazy. But about 1960, they moved into the newly built warden's house on the south end of the prison. Second floor would have been their offices for the warden, deputy warden, the magistrate, records office. The warden could step out on that second floor porch with the caging if he ever wanted to talk to the inmates out here, and he wouldn't have to worry about getting hit with a projectile or something. Now we'll actually be passing through the first floor area here in just a little while, and I'll hold off on that until we're up close and personal with it so you can more easily understand what I'm telling you about. Moundsville putting close to his family. He still has family in the area to this day. But we have his letter to the museum. If you've yet to see it, you have to check it out. It's kind of hard to read, but he basically said, "I can't get no mercy in California. Please answer me back. Signed, Charlie Manson." Well, in true form, Gordon Kircher responded, "Dear Charlie, when hell freezes over." That was his response. 1968, they had another riot here. The inmates set fire to the old female building. That's when we lost some of those early records, unfortunately. But due to the damage sustained during the fire, that's why the state just decided to tear it out the same year. So the OMC that's back there is built, like I say, along with the industry building. When we walk back out, you can get a better look at it from around this corner. So. Oh yeah, that one down there's got a lot of writing in there, a lot of personality in there. Now, you may have noticed that when we came in, those first 4 cells, you can see they're a little separate from all these other guys. Well, those guys had to be kept separate because they could only play with each other. That's how bad they were. They couldn't even get along with these guys over here, which is really saying something. It was mostly a mixture of gang leaders and otherwise high-ranking gang members. Well, the first cell, and you know, of course, you're more than welcome to go back and check this out after I explain to you, but the first cell that we would have passed, the last one now, up there, was home to a guy named William Red Snyder. Now, he's from Weston, West Virginia. He murdered his father and the father of his sister's boyfriend. He got here, he was charged with 3 inmate murders. Very, very feared guy, but the inmates respected Red. If he told an inmate they were done, they were dead, like clockwork, to a T, within 24 hours, that inmate would be found dead either by Red's doing or one of his guys' doing. Red would sit out there after he knew one of his gang members killed someone for him. He would sit in his cell and play taps on his harmonica. That was a signal to the officers to look for a dead body somewhere on 12 acres. Now, 2 cells back this way from Red is like a blue and white cell. That was home to a guy named Rusty Lassiter. And Rusty was only in on grand larceny. For about 4 or 5 years, Red and Rusty were allowed to go outside of the bullpens together. No problem out of them. They thought they were good for each other, keeping each other out of trouble. Early morning of November 16, 1992, just before they were supposed to go outside for their rec time, Red got high off some pills. He loved pills, and he had a handful of them, unbeknownst to the officers. He was really intoxicated. So when they popped Red and Rusty's doors for him to go out, he couldn't even stand up. Rusty stood at Red's doorway and asked him 3 times if he was ready to go out and play. When he realized he couldn't even stand up, much less speak, Rusty went into Red's cell and stabbed him 37 times and killed him in there. He passed away below his bunk from asphyxiation from the neck wounds. Now, I can tell you all, like I said, I don't touch a whole lot of this on the history tours, but I can tell you that those of us who work here nowadays, we consider him an active resident. And I'll just leave it at that. But like I say, his cell from here will be the last one up there. It still says Aryan Nation, Aryan Brotherhood, and all that in there. So, again, more than welcome if you want to check that out up there. But otherwise, these cells, you can tell how small, 5 by 7 by 7, 35 square feet. As they're empty, 60% of each one is taken up by the bunks, commodes. Well, you remember how earlier I told you in the 20s and 30s they were so overcrowded with over 2,700 inmates. Back in those days, these exact cells would have had 2 bunks each, and they put 3 men into each one. The third slept on the floor of the little mat. That's pretty crazy. Absolutely crazy. Can't even imagine. Around 1986, they turned this into segregation, keeping only 1 man in the cell, walking around the big room cells. They used to be kind of all these guys. But if you're into long history, or look at long hanging, don't murder them or die. Now, the last guy that was in that cell was 1980. Now, what it started was, and when he was paroled, he actually had to chair in his cell and walk out the front door to the car. I guess you gotta give it special treatment. Number 5, you may have noticed, is also a little different. It's got the original porcelain plumbing in 1922. At the southeast corner of the yard, they also used to have, on Friday nights, a boxing ring sitting there. And they had Friday night fights. And actually, they would do that till about the 60s. And it would be inmate on inmate fights. And for a while, they even allowed officer on officer fights. Crazy stuff. But, you know, actually, they said...
Yeah, it is. It's got 3 beds in it. Oh, they all do. Or, first 2 do. West Virginia State Penitentiary. Cool tour.
Second tier. Now, of course, once you folks come back, but hopefully next time, we can actually lock into the cells. And then you can see some of the antics I like to pull, because usually I like to pick on somebody, a kid or a character on tour. Let's say they go into cell 2 and I casually see that they went into cell 2. Well, I would, when I let everyone back out of their cells, I would keep that one turned off and tell them it's right.